phonetic symbols are fed to the synthesizer. It combines them into intelligible speech.
I think it's important to go back a little bit to the beginning. Computer scientists in the beginning didn't look so much different than me or many of the women in this room. Many of the very first programmers, so to speak, were women, and they programmed the first supercomputers. When things started to increase and the focus of programming started to increase throughout the next several decades, you found that women represented almost 35% of the degrees in CS. Even Barbie got in on the action.
Spring is fun. Spring is literally like how much spring they have, how much they bounce. Here, look, I'm gonna stop. Go boing, 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 boing. See?
What I've been trying to say about gender for a very long time is that it isn't enough that women are consuming technology as much as men.
No matter what age, you'll have fun building Roby yourself or with your family with our step-by-step guide.
We're using all kinds of technologies all the time that we take for granted, that we don't think of, the lighting, the electricity. You know, there's heaps of technologies that we're not having great conversations about because we've naturalised them, they're just part of the infrastructure, we don't even reflect on them anymore.
I mean, at the beginning of the digital divide debates, when the technology was new, there was a big discussion about the fact that men were the first users of various technologies. Now, if you look at figures on consumption, on social media production, there is no gender divide. Men and women equally do this. Where there is a divide, and it hasn't got any better at all, is in terms of engineering, computer science, the designers of technology, that is, you know, the designers of video games. All these things are incredibly male dominated. For 30 years we've had campaigns trying to get more women and girls to do this kind of work. We haven't succeeded with this.
Using our backgrounds in electrical and mechanical engineering, we designed Ruminate. We spent hundreds of hours with girls testing and refining our ideas until we saw their eyes light up.
Girls can build, wire, and design the world they want to play in.
This is a playground at a campsite. This is a monkey bus, swing, and sign.
And what's in your hand?
Rand had died in 1981, but by the start of the 1990s, her novels had become a phenomenon in America. A Library of Congress survey showed that one of them, Atlas Shrugged, was now the second most influential book in the country. The first was the Bible. And the group most inspired by her were the new entrepreneurs of Silicon Valley, including some of the most powerful, like Larry Ellison of Oracle.
One reason is because it's well-paid jobs, and why shouldn't women have half of the good, exciting, well-paid jobs? But the other reason, which should concern us even more, it seems to me, is that we know historically that people will design technologies from their own experience, that all technologies reflect to some extent the values and experience of people who design them.
But that's not all. You can also program it yourself. This robot allows everyone to discover robotics and programming in a fun way.
My sort of first step into computer science was with the female mentor. She was the one who sort of first gave me a chance. I think that made the biggest difference by far. There's race, there's gender, there's your height, like all these things that we know sociologically can count against you in these areas. And so I never knew like which one of those things was hurting me at any given time. So just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do and do what makes me happy.
I picked up one day in the airport the book called How Google Works by Eric Schmidt and Jonathan Rosenberg, their book on how Google works. And there's actually a section in the book called Overworked in a Good Way. And it's not a joke, overworked in a good way, it says. And in that section, they say that work-life balance policies are insulting to smart employees. They have worked with young mothers, young mums, they say, who go completely dark for a few hours in the evening, and then around 9 p.m. you can rely on them. They're back there, fully focused, doing what they should be doing. The emails start coming in.
And if you've only got a narrow range of people designing technologies, which is basically sort of young guys, if you look at Silicon Valley.
Many of them name their companies and even their children after Rand and her novels. They set up reading groups to spread her ideas. But above all, they saw themselves as Randian heroes.
I really felt like an Ayn Rand hero. I really did feel like an Ayn Rand hero. I was one. I didn't just feel like one, I was one.
Now, a computer for women, how did the idea come about?
The Petticoat 5. It's a computer made by women, for women.
So, let's take a look at it. Now, the first thing you notice is the shape of the keys.
That's right. They're designed to make it easier to type with long nails.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah, so then why do all the girls have to find princesses? Some girls like superheroes, some girls like princesses. Some boy like superheroes, some boy like princesses.
Absolutely. I was thinking independently. I was being rational. I was taking pride in what I did. Those are Ayn Rand heroes' characteristics. I was an Ayn Rand hero. I wasn't in the book, but I was an Ayn Rand hero.
I've got 90,000 pounds in drivers. I've got 40,000 French francs in my fridge.
¿Dónde? En España, en Barcelona, en donde está la feria más importante.
El impacto económico para la ciudad se calcula en 460 millones de euros.
Todo lo que todavía no salió está ahí en Barcelona.
Como el más importante del sector en todo el planeta. Rosa Rodríguez.
I've arrived here the weekend of the Mobile Phone Congress. I was on a plane full of young guys, completely full. That if they're designing these technologies, then it's going to affect the kinds of things that are designed. And if I can just give you some very simple examples, if you look at the content of Wikipedia, one of the issues has been that the number of women scientists are underrepresented, that lots of topics that are of more interest to women are underrepresented. It is not because the people who put things up on Wikipedia consciously think, oh gosh, we'll only put on things that are of interest to young guys.
Donde está el congreso más importante, la feria, si esta es importante, nosotras vamos por allá. Ahora vengo de Italia, había un congreso allá muy grande y venimos de allá. Después tenemos que ir a Madrid y después a Valencia, donde hay congresos estos grandes, nosotras vamos.
But of course they put on the things that interest them. That's what they're going to put on.
One of our big pushes, and all of us are working on this, is to make sure that all kids, especially girls, are encouraged into this area, because we cannot have this built by one demographic group. So there's big movements to make sure that the people who are building this amazingly exciting technology actually represent the population of the planet instead of just, frankly, a bunch of guys. That's important.
It's the same with information about developing countries. I mean, you could take an African country and have a look at how much knowledge about that country is on Wikipedia, and you would find a disproportionate lower amount.
Then an academic, a Nigerian woman, told me that feminism was not our culture, that feminism was an African, and that I was calling myself a feminist because I had been corrupted by Western books. Which amused me because a lot of my early reading was decidedly unfeminist. But anyway, since feminism was un-African, I decided I would now call myself a happy African feminist. At some point, I was a happy African feminist who does not hate men and who likes lip gloss and who wears high heels for herself but not for men. Of course, a lot of this was tongue-in-cheek, but that word feminist is so heavy with baggage, negative baggage.
So in order for us to have a really general debate in society about the directions that we want technological change to go, what sort of technologies we want to develop and which ones we don't want to develop, that we don't want we don't think drones for the military are more important than better energy technologies or whatever. We need to have a broader representation of people engaged with the design and production of technology.